There was a time when baseball was the passion of the country. And the best teams were in New York. I remember the fall of 1951 as one of the most charitable seasons of my life. The early autumn days had an almost tactile quality to them. A smooth, cool texture as finely polished stone, and the light was the color of alabaster. I passed my summer, my first as a high school graduate, working as a shipping clerk in New York's garment center. And with my summer's work now complete, I was taking 2 weeks at my leisure before the start of the college year. The days passed, one upon the other, in a neat procession. And as each passed, I relished the next one. But I felt no loss at their passing, for I sensed they presaged a time that would be more to my taste. I cannot recall a more tranquil period, so at peace with the present, so filled with expectation for what lay ahead. I walked the streets as if they were my own, part of an inheritance that was mine with the coming of age. I browsed in bookstores. I visited museums. I spent solitary hours shooting baskets in the schoolyard, honing my touch for a chance at playing college basketball. And I spent many an afternoon at either the Polo Grounds or Yankee Stadium. Those were days when most games were still played under the light of the sun. It was a wonderful year to be privileged to watch the pennant races firsthand. The Yankees were running cheek by jowl with the Cleveland Indians. And of course, the Giants were on a memorable chase of the Dodgers. A chase that would end with the swing of Bobby Thompson's bat in just a few weeks. It was on such an afternoon that I became engaged in a chance conversation that would trouble my few remaining days of freedom, and in fact, change my way of thinking for years to come. Sitting beside me was a somewhat time-worn black man, or Negro in the vernacular of the day, who cheered lustily every time Monty Irvin, the Giants outfielder, would come to bat. Now there's a real ball player. Too bad he didn't make it up here in his prime. In his prime? After all, Irvin was hitting better than .300 and leading the league in runs batted in. And it was only his second full season in the major leagues. Sure, I used to watch him play in the Negro leagues. He was really something then. Oh, he can still play. He's still got the power, but some of his foot is gone. He was fast then. I mean, he could really run. He could do everything. He would have been one of the best. Well, how old is he? Monty? He's pretty well into his 30s by now. I had no idea he was that old. It never occurred to me that all the fine black ball players that were filtering into the major leagues over the past 2 or 3 years weren't really rookies, but the very best of the veteran players who were forced to display their skills in the subterranean shadows of the Negro leagues until Jackie Robinson broke the color line in 1947. A lot of talent went unnoticed before Jackie come up, my neighbor said. Yeah, a lot of talent came unnoticed. My neighbor regaled me with stories. He recreated the exploits of such as Satchel Paige, Cool Papa Bell, and Josh Gibson. Now, my best recollection, the first hearing that Jackie Robinson would be the first black major league player in the 20th century, was one of consternation. I had no idea there had been none before him. And I certainly didn't know that there was a firm and yet unwritten ban on Negroes in the entire system of Major League Baseball. I, of course, wasn't unconscious to racial distinctions. I just guessed that segregation was confined to the South, like slavery had been a century earlier. And I never wondered why I could live a lifetime in my neighborhood and never lay eyes on a Negro. In fact, I never spoke to or saw a black person until I entered high school in 1949 at the age of 15. As he flicked ashes from his cigar and shook his head in wonder, I felt this bilious tide of resentment and shame come from deep inside me. I wished that the ex-ball player would betray at least the slightest bit of bitterness, some foul, rancorous, saber's edge of hostility. "White boy," I yearned to hear him say, "you've been sitting here all these years, watching all these white faces, and never, ever wondered why there was not one black among them? You never even thought of it, did you? What chance did niggers like me have when no one even noticed?" And that was the truth of it, I realize now. Before Jackie Robinson came to the Dodgers in 1947, I never thought it was unnatural that all the players were white. All 400 of them. Not to mention the thousands in the minor league. Every one of them were Caucasian. I guess it's the mark of being truly invisible when your presence is not even taken noted, but your absence is never, ever noted.
Two scenes left. Wolfgang Nedmeyer, there he is. And this time I'm calling on the right person.